As parents, we want the best for our children. Although Cindy and James Farrell's daughter, Nickel, had been born with a life-threatening heart condition, they were doing all they could to give her a normal life in their hometown of Shelbyville, Tennessee. But on the evening of June 12, 1992, they were reminded that life is unpredictable, and we can easily be caught off guard.
Nickel was 3 months old when she had her first surgery.
There you go.
The doctors told us that the best thing to do was let her have her first surgery or she would never make it to her first birthday. Well, I worried about her, but, you know, I knew the doctors could only do what they can do.
Cindy's sister-in-law, Jennifer, was visiting that night with 2 young cousins.
Nickel walked to the door.
Well, what you have stuff in the closet?
Everything. You can name it. I bet it's in there. Shoes, mostly.
Well, how you find him when you're going to wear him?
Oh, God, Cindy, something's wrong with Nick. At first, I thought she'd fallen, and then she didn't get up.
Nickel, Nickel.
She turned a purple color, like she was just choking. We knew her heart condition was serious, and we thought she was having a heart attack.
Jennifer called 911, and Bedford County EMS was immediately dispatched to the scene.
It was very hard for me to sit here and look down and see my baby, you know, not breathing.
Come on.
While waiting for the ambulance, they called Cindy's mother, Virginia Pierce, and she called her husband, Bob, at his lodge meeting.
I told Bob they were taking the baby to the hospital. He says, I'll be right there. That's his joy, is the grandkids.
Within 4 minutes of the call, a medic unit arrived, including EMT Greg Johnson.
Anytime you deal with children, the anxiety level kind of goes up and you get a little bit more nervous just because they're kids. Everybody just kind of looked real scared.
Has she ever had seizures before?
No, she's...
Well, I checked her pulse and her pulse was okay and her breathing was okay. Both her lungs were good and clear because she had had a heart problem. The mom decided that it'd be best for her to go to the hospital and get checked out.
The ambulance carrying the little girl took off for Bedford County General Hospital, with family members following behind.
I felt the ambulance slowing down and I heard Mike say, "What's this up here in the road?" I looked through the little hole between the front and the back and I could see that a car was sitting upside down.
The paramedic in the back says, "Man, we've got to stop and check on this person."
Is there anybody else involved in the accident?
I don't know. I just heard a noise and came out.
Okay.
I was thinking, why can't they just go on and get my baby to the hospital? Then again, I can understand. You know, that's their job.
They need oxygen and sea collar, Greg.
Nickel's father, James, went to see what had happened.
Okay, you've been in that.
No, I run over to him. This is my father-in-law.
Okay, go back. Don't let her know what's going on.
The ambulance driver one told me, says, whatever you do, said, don't tell her that's her daddy.
Fire! Having some breathing problems. It looks like maybe some chest trauma.
Mike said this guy's having a really hard time breathing.
Okay, sir.
Every time he would take a breath, instead of his chest rising like it normally does, it would kind of sink in.
Okay, don't move, sir. Lay still.
It was a flail chest, and that's where 3 or more ribs are broken in 2 or more places.
The paramedic explained to me that they had a 49-year-old male with severe chest trauma. He says, "Ma'am, we can work on your daughter once we get her to the hospital." And I thought, this is a young baby. This baby hasn't lived long. You know, this man is 49 years old. He's been on this earth 49 years. Just let him be, you know. And, you know, it's bad to think that, but when it come to my kid, I thought it.
Technically, you're not supposed to leave a patient. If the child had been any worse or had been unstable at all, I never would have left her. But I felt that this guy needed a lot more help right at that moment.
Virginia was waiting at the hospital for her youngest granddaughter to be brought in, and her husband Bob and other family members to join her.
What's going on?
And I said, "James, what's the matter?" He says, "Go out there and talk to Daddy." That was James's father.
What's wrong?
And then he told me that it was Bob, and he's bad.
While doctors examined Nickel, Bob arrived at the same emergency room.
And when they brought him in, to me, he didn't show no life. Oh, Bob, no! I wanted to go in the emergency room to see him. They wouldn't let me see him.
Can I get you to give them some information, please?
And I heard my mama start screaming that it was my daddy.
It's Daddy.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to think. Knowing that they was talking about this man, and I was saying, let the man die. It's hard to think back on that.
My granddaughters. They says, Granny, we want to see Papa. I said, honey, Papa's hurt. And I says, he'll be all right. Honest. Papa will be fine. He'll come home. I promise, okay? To me, he wasn't going to come home. That's just the way I was feeling.
Bob had suffered 14 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a bruised heart. A life flight helicopter transferred him to Vanderbilt Hospital in critical condition. He underwent surgery, but over the next couple of days, his condition continued to deteriorate.
The doctor said he keeps mumbling about a baby. I think he had in his head that something happened to that baby.
The last thing he remembers on his mind was that his little angel was sick. And I finally made it down there Sunday. I grabbed Daddy's hand and I said, Daddy, I said, Nickel's fine.
They said when Cindy come up and told me that is when I took a turn and started getting better. Till that time, I guess I just didn't care.
4 months later, Bob Pierce has completely recovered from the accident. Because of continuing heart problems, 2-year-old Nickel underwent another surgery to correct a faulty heart valve.
The doctors say it's just buying her some time. They're needing to replace that defective valve, but they can't do that until she's 16, 17 years old.
Pretty horse.
I think she has a good relationship with her grandfather. I think they're closer than they used to be.
Hey, sweetheart.
Bob might have grown up a little bit, too. Instead of being a 49-year-old kid, he grew up